welcome to Kenny's G League, the only podcast all about the Rip City remix. We've got a lot to talk about today now that the season has started. We'll talk about the first game, the first home game, players that have already shuffled in and out of the team, and a secret new name for remix fans that we've got. But before we get into it, let's hear from our sponsor, Basket Ghoul. Basket Ghoul is my favorite online store to get Blazers apparel, accessories, stickers, and more. If you want to show your love of Toumani Camara with their new Hulk Hogan-inspired Toumani shirt, Toumania, you can get that. If you need a sticker of Evan Turner giving the Nuggets the bird, you can get that. Jeremy Grant pendant necklace, a Ball Don't Lie hoodie, a gift card for the holidays coming up, they got you. So hop on over to basketghoul.com for all of that and much more. So to get into the pod today, let's rewind back to November 10, the first ever remix game. The remix played an away game against the South Bay Lakers. For this game, the Blazers assigned Rayan Rupert and Chris Murray to the remix, both of whom would be starters in the game, alongside Malachi Smith, Blazers two-way player Justin Minaya, and Dwap Reith. This game would go on to be called the Dwap Reith game, as he would go to score 37 on the night, going 15 of 20 from the field, along with 9 rebounds and 1 assist. He was balling out. He's continuing to launch threes all game long. He looked fantastic. Justin Minaya scored 19, Chris Murray had 18, and really a great showing from the team overall, beating the Lakers 133-105. Super fun game to watch from home. Several Blazer players showing up to the game to support, as they were also in Los Angeles to face the Lakers just the next day. Since that game, Reith has been spending considerable time with the Blazers on that two-way contract. He's taken up the majority of their backup center minutes after Robert Williams III went down with a knee injury. It's notable to me that the Blazers have largely gone with Reith at the backup center spot over Moses Brown, so that'll be something to keep an eye on as the season goes on, because Moses Brown's contract is only partially guaranteed until January. I think it's something like $500,000. Maybe at some point Reith earns himself a standard NBA contract, because he's really looked pretty decent. I've thought he's shooting like a historical number of threes for, per minute, which is kind of interesting. And he's definitely a capable shooter, but it seems the efficiency's kind of fallen off there a little bit. But I've really been impressed with Dwap. So let's keep rolling through the schedule here. The remix stayed in South Bay for a rematch on the 11th. They beat the Lakers again, 114-110. We're going to save some thoughts on specific players for a minute here after we get through the schedule. I'm just going to highlight in this game, Malachi Smith had 33 points and 8 rebounds. On the 12th, the Blazers' two-way player Skylar Mays was converted to a standard NBA contract, so we probably won't see much of him on the remix this season. The Blazers quickly filled the empty two-way spot that Skylar Mays was on, signing Jamari Bouye from the Sioux Falls Skyforce. He would go and play a handful of games with the Blazers as well, and a couple games with the remix, which, by the way, shout out to the handful of Jamari Bouye fans that I saw at the Blazers game versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. There was like 4 or 5 people wearing Bouye jerseys, excited to see him there. Man, I love that. I think they were from his high school, if I understood correctly, and that's just so cool. You love to see people cheering on people that they know making it to the NBA. I mean, I think that's really super cool that they were able to do that, regardless of the outcome of that game, which was pretty bad for the Blazers. That's an awesome moment to have for them. The remix's third game, this time against the Ontario Clippers, was a beatdown from the Clippers, in which the remix ended up losing 122-84. The remix also signed Alex Reese that day. Reese is interesting because he made the Rio Grande Valley Vipers training camp as an open tryout player. And he's looked, serviceable in his few minutes that he's gotten so far on the Remix. So you always love to see someone that was an open tryout guy make the roster. I think that's really super cool. Last he played in Luxembourg, averaging 23.7 points and 12.9 rebounds. So he was balling out in Luxembourg before the open tryouts in Rio Grande. And so that brings us to the first ever Remix home game, which I was fortunate enough to attend. So let's hear a clip from the starting lineups at the first ever Remix home game.
Number 53, Jeffrey! 6'4" from France. Number 72, Rayon Rupe! Up 6'6" center from SMU. Number 99, Joré Foster! A 6'4" guard from Gonzaga. Number 18, Malachi! And a 6'1" guard from Detroit Mercy. Number 44, Antoine Davis!
The Lakers got out to a first quarter lead of 39-25, increasing their lead into halftime to 16. The Remix would get back into it in the third quarter, going on a 24-7 run, which would give them the lead. I can't say for sure what sparked that on, but it could have been that the section I was seated in started to get really into it, booing the Lakers at the free throw line, really cheering for the team. The players were getting into it. They were telling the crowd to keep cheering, to go louder. Really exciting. For some reason, up to that point, the crowd was afraid to boo at the free throw line and really get into it for some reason. You know, it's a new league for the city. Maybe that has something to do with it. People were a little hesitant. Or maybe they were thrown off. There are these paper signs all over the arena reminding people to, be civil. So maybe people were a little bit thrown off by that. I don't know. But the team started getting into it. The crowd started getting into it. But not me, of course. I would never boo. I'm a professional. I would never boo. Not going to do that. The fourth quarter was really exciting. Lots of lead changes. The Remix had a few chances to tie or take the lead in the closing 30 seconds, but they just couldn't get anything to go down. The Lakers hit some clutch free throws, and they took home the win on the first ever home game. But super fun game either way. Really great home opener, and a special shout out to all the Remix employees that went above and beyond to make the day really super fun. A special shout out to my new homie John. He's awesome. He went out of his way to say hello and just make everybody, not just me, feel welcome and have a great time. They're really doing a great job to make the games fun and accessible and easy to get to and everything like that. Really great time. Now, there was one other notable moment at the Remix home opener. One fan, who shall remain nameless, posted a photo of the concessions on Twitter to point out that at the Child Center, you can buy an item that's named hand fruit on the menu for $2. Hand fruit, what is that? The same fan went back next game and asked what the hand fruit was. The answer, an orange. And by this point, Remix Twitter, that's right, Remix Twitter is a thing now, was abuzz about the mystery that was solved. But then days later, a different person went to the Child Center for the next home game, and this fan was wearing a T-shirt that said, "I'm here for the hand fruit," and that day's fruit was an apple. So I guess we've got a rotating $2 hand fruit at the Child Center, and weird people on the internet are loving it. So, little free idea here for the Remix. We need a special section of seats at the arena called the produce section. That's right. Joe Cronin, contact me. Okay, and we'll get the produce section going at the Child Center. Rolling through the schedule here. On the 18th and the 20th, the Remix played the Clippers once again, and I'm sure that makes travel a lot easier doing these back-to-backs with the same team. But it is kind of weird that the first 6 games, the Remix played the same 2 teams. We played the Lakers 3 times, the Clippers 3 times. And it's just kind of odd to me, It's no big deal, but it's like 6 games, 2 teams. It's kind of weird. And the remix would go 1-1 in that back-to-back against the Clippers. On the 22nd, Jamaree Bouyea was cut from the Blazers' two-way spot, and he can return to the Sioux Falls Skyforce since they have his player rights. When an NBA team signs a two-way contract, a player to a two-way contract, the G League team retains their rights. We've talked about this a little bit before, so if you want to hit up that previous episode to this one where we talk a little bit about some of the contracts and how those things work in retaining players, you can jump back to the previous episode. The Blazers quickly filled that two-way spot with Ibou Badji, who returns to the Blazers after spending the 2022-2023 season with them. Badji, you might remember, was cut from the Blazers just about a month ago. And from talking to a couple folks around the team, it was my understanding that the Blazers had basically been looking for a way to bring him back since then. They cut him so they could sign the two-way guys that they did, like Skylar Mays and Reith, but they were still really high on his potential, so it's exciting to be able to bring him back. They were pretty high on him last year, and he spent the year with the team rehabbing from a knee surgery, giving Jeremy Grant piggyback rides that we saw when they would win a game. I'm excited to watch him now that he's back in town, and I really wish they had a G League team last year, because he's one of those guys that you want to get minutes for. It seems like he has a lot of potential there, just not as much experience as a lot of other players. So I'm excited to watch him now that we've got the remix in town. Should be really fun to watch him grow as the season goes on. Their next game was the day after Thanksgiving, where they beat the Salt Lake City Stars at home 113-110, thanks to a late game three-pointer from Rayan Rupert and some free throws that sealed the deal from Malachi Smith. After that game, the Remix were 4 wins, 3 losses. That's third place in the West. I was only able to see the fourth quarter of this game, unfortunately. I'll put the blame not on the Remix, but on the G League website manager, whoever that is. Every G League game has a link to the YouTube stream on their website, but this one was missing the link until the late third quarter or so. The streams are also unlisted, so you can't search for them on YouTube. All that to say, hey G League web manager guy, I'm always looking for more work, so hit me up. We can make the streams a little easier to get to. And then the Blazers played one last game here so far. That was on the 26th, again against the Salt Lake City Stars, and they lost this one. I was unable to see that game, but I did see that it looked like Rayan Rupert had a great game. So I just want to give a few thoughts on some guys that I've enjoyed watching so far. And first we're going to talk about Rayan Rupert. Basically from game one, I feel like he's shown both why the Blazers are so high on him and why he fell a little bit in the draft. He's definitely a skilled player. He's comfortable shooting the three. He's got really long arms and has all the defensive potential in the world. As far as I can see, he's just pretty raw. He's played only one season in New Zealand last year, and he was averaging under 20 minutes a game on the season. His shooting percentages in New Zealand were not outstanding, but you could tell that he's got a lot of potential. His shooting so far for the Remix has been quite good. He's hitting about 45% on threes, which, geez, that's awesome, and about 45% on twos. And he's already getting more comfortable every single game. If you're a Blazers fan that hasn't tuned into a Remix game yet, hop on that, if only to watch Rupert, and tell me you're not excited about a Rupert Kamara wing of the future rotation. I think Rupert is super fun to watch. It's flown under the radar a little bit that he's a little bit younger than Scoot Henderson. So I don't think there's any need to be worried about him at all right now. This is the type of guy that the Blazers are glad to have a G League team for. Let him get minutes, see how he develops. I'm really excited to watch him as the season goes on. He's got a lot of good instincts, and he's, to me, he's kind of like exactly what you want your small forward to be on an NBA team if he kind of sees all these things get put together. Another player I've enjoyed watching is Jeray Foster. He's had a pretty tumultuous journey that led him to Rip City that included multiple ACL injuries, one that forced him to miss his senior year of high school basketball, and another while he was preparing for the 2018 NBA draft, that he was kind of gearing up for the draft his last season of college, and he got that injury and was only able to play 16 games during his final season at SMU. Since his 2019 season, he's been a coach, a trainer, he's done camps and clinics in Texas, and now he's with the Remix. There's a really great article from 2020 about his journey recovering from injury, and I'll link that in the show notes. I won't go over it in depth, but in the article, he talks about how journaling helped him work through tough times and kind of overcoming those hurdles of multiple injuries and having to find new ways to make your goals happen. I think it's a really interesting article, so hit that link and read it. He seems like a really interesting dude, and a guy that you just want to root for. So go read that article. It's been really cool seeing him get out there in the G League. And some last news that we've got, kind of by surprise, Mo Harkless entered the G League pool, and the Remix signed him. So I think that's going to be really cool. Mo Harkless, Blazers legend, Mo Harkless. He was, of course, on the Blazers for several seasons, was a part of the Western Conference Finals run, and has some pretty fantastic quotes through the years with the Blazers. One being like Casey Holdall said the other day. Let me see here if I can find it. He had this great tweet just a couple days ago. So this is from an article that Casey Holdall wrote, kind of remembering the 2019 Blazers playoff run, and specifically the Oklahoma City series. Mo Harkless is quoted as saying, "Let me tell you something. Make sure you quote me on this. I'm a 50% shooter from everywhere. There's only two things that can happen. Either that bitch gonna go in or I'll miss. Every time I shoot, 50%. And that's such a good quote. So Mo Harkless is back. Maybe he'll be on the team for a while. Maybe it'll be a really short stint and he'll get called up somewhere. He didn't play in the NBA last season. So it'll be pretty cool to see him potentially land on a team somewhere this season. Who knows? It's not a two-way contract. He's not eligible for a two-way contract since he has too much NBA experience. So maybe he'll get a call up on a 10-day. Maybe someone will sign him to a regular contract. Who knows? But since he hasn't played for a minute in the NBA, it'll be fun to see him on the Remix soon. So who knows how long he'll last with the team? So best to get to a game sooner than later. That's the latest news we've got on the Remix. So that's where the Remix stand now. They're 4-4 on the season. That's fourth place in the Western Division. They've got a couple games coming up here that you should be aware of. They play the Santa Cruz Warriors December 1st and 2nd in Santa Cruz. And then the next home game is December 7 at 6 p.m. and December 9. Let's see here. That's against the Kings. Those are both in Portland. So try to get out to one of those. Then they go play the Ignite. That'll be a really fun one to watch. That's an away game. So that's where we're at right now. I'm going to try to get these podcasts out weekly now. Going to be aiming for Tuesdays. So thank you so much for listening, and I will be looking forward to chatting with you on the next episode.